So the Nigerian Senate says it has listened. It's returned to Clause 60, subsection 3 of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, the clause at the heart of a national outcry over how votes will be counted, transmitted, and trusted. This time, the word transfer is gone. Transmission is back. Results, the Senate says, will be sent electronically from polling units to INEX IREV portal. But listen carefully, because what the Senate does not say may matter more than what it does. There is no mention of real-time transmission, and that could mean that there is no clear guarantee that results will move before manipulation can catch up. Instead, a familiar escape hatch, where there is network failure, paper forms, signed, handled, and vulnerable, once again become the primary evidence of the people's will. So, has the Senate clarified the law or simply softened its language? Has it strengthened electoral transparency or perfected political ambiguity? Well, to explain what really happened on the Senate floor, what happens next, and whether Nigerians can still trust the path being laid for their votes, I'm joined now in the studio by a leading opposition PDP member of the National Assembly, Senator Henry Seriake Dickson, CON, who governed Bayelsa State for 8 years, and who, as a member of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters, is a key voice in this debate. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you, Charles, once again for having me.
So the Senate approves electronic transmission of election results to the IREV viewing portal, but it allows manual collation to serve as a fallback where technology fails. So it doesn't really guarantee that results will be transmitted in real time, does it?
Well, first of all, let me clarify this. I'm here, as you know, as a senator and as a member of a ranking member of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters. In fact, I've been so involved in the discussions and workshops and consultations leading to this, the compilation of the final report, that at the Lagos Joint Committee workshop, I had the honor of being asked by the chairman, a good friend, Senator Lalong, to chair, to coordinate when he was not present. So we've been fully involved, and this has been going on for about 2 years or so. Different workshops, conferences at the Senate Committee and House sitting separately, and then at joint committees, and also interactions with INEC. But let me clarify moving forward. I'm not here as spokesman of the Senate. I'm here to give my views as someone who has been deeply involved in all these processes, as a ranking member of this committee, and also as someone who participated in the proceedings of today. But I was not there when the Senate took that decision earlier, about a week ago, because I was my bereavement. I lost a close brother, the deputy governor, the sitting deputy governor of my state, and so since a sudden passing, December 11th, I was in mourning.
And you have our condolences.
Thank you very much. Today was the very first day I went to sit in the Senate because of the importance of this matter. What has actually happened, Charles, going back a little bit, is that this issue of electronic transmission is always problematic. I was again a member of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters in the 9th Senate when we tried to introduce the concept of electronic transfer. And even at that time, there was stiff opposition. Somehow, the party in power, that has even majority now, even 2/3 majority in the National Assembly, is somehow very resistant when it comes to these notions of electronic transfer. So there was a division, even in the 9th Senate, and which was what Senator Baribe today was trying to do with our support, all of us. But then for today, we had a change of mind, and he had to withdraw that because it became untenable. Because, Parliament works by consultations, lobbying, consensus building,
And horse trade.
horse trading. So what happened today, because I was shocked when I was bereaved, and we had concluded all the work, with the consultants, with INEC even present, because some of these sensitive clauses, we needed to meet with them to ask them, look, you are the election managers.
Can you pull it
can
off?
Can you implement it? And we had done all that essential work prior to the agreement by all of us. And while we were meeting and conferences and workshops, we were not doing so as PDP or opposition, APC members or PDP opposition members. No, we were examining these issues as patriotic Nigerians, bringing our experiences to bear on the challenge of electoral integrity in the country. And there was no argument. We all agreed that there was need now to kind of safeguard the IREV portal. Remember what happened in the 2023 election. The IREV portal became a central issue. But do you know that the IREV portal was not an invention by the National Assembly? It was not also an invention by the presidency or of any political party. It was a concept introduced by INEC itself.
Which is why people were astonished.
Yeah, building
in 2023.
Building on the card reader that was introduced 2014, 2015. But they saw the weaknesses. Now they have reworked their technology to give us the BIVAS, the bimodal identification system. So card reader is only fingerprint, but the BIVAS is dual identification, facial recognition as well as fingerprint recognition. So INEC made that. But they also stepped up their game. This INEC. Very often we vilify it. People raise all sorts of issues, but we don't say enough about the good things they do.
Right.
Yes. They came up with the IREV, which is an electronic, open, and transparent electoral viewing system for the public. IREV. So what we tried to do in this committee report was that, look, once the presiding officer has finished the elections, votes have been cast and counted and entered in the EC8A, which is the primary source of election result. What you do in collation, you are just adding and subtracting. The primary evidence of who won an election is the EC8A. Once you have done that, in our proposal, original proposal, we said, okay, let the presiding officer take a picture and send or transmit electronically, transmit that to the INEC, the IRF portal. All presiding officers. By doing so, what we thought was that we were, providing an opportunity to give transparency. So anywhere you are, you watch, you will see the various results from the polling units all across. That was what we did. Now, that's why I was shocked, because there was unanimity of opinion. I was not present because I was mourning.
Yeah, but there was unanimity on the electoral
at the committee level. Yes,
right.
Yes, at the committee level.
On the floor.
Yes, in both chambers, which is why the same report that was presented by the House of Reps committee, our counterparts, and we're working together, all words the same.
So that was more reflective of what you agreed.
Yes, in fact, it wasn't just reflective. It was what we agreed that the House committee and the House by extension passed. So Speaker Abbas and his colleagues and the chairman of the House Committee on Electoral Matter, a great guy from Lagos, he did his job and they passed it without controversy.
So why did the Senate deliberately refuse to include the words real time if transparency was the goal?
Well, look, that's why I said what happened in the Senate last week was unfortunate. Unfortunate because when the House had passed it and were expected to also pass the same thing, but then some concerns were raised. I hear about whether if we passed it, it could result in challenges in areas that had no network.
But you guys had already consulted INEX.
We had already
and
consulted.
INEX said they could do it.
Exactly. Exactly. Which was why it was so shocking to all of us who participated, and also Nigerians were rightly outraged.
Absolutely.
So today, for some of us, I mean, and I thank my colleagues for the little regard we enjoy. When I went in for the sitting, I confronted the leadership. Had they consult? The Senate president was not there, but the deputy speaker, and the deputy Senate president, and most of the key members were there, and we talked. And they assured me, and I'm very grateful to them. This was not a proposal from the opposition. No. When I engaged them, they gave me their word that, look, we're going to find a middle course. And right away, I too, and most of, and I came back and told most of our opposition leaders that, look, if these guys do what they're saying by moving a motion for rescission, and then our motion, which Senator Baribe was to raise, on a division, will not be tenable. And we didn't really trust that they were going to do that.
But a middle ground is not reflective of what you originally aimed for. It's not reflective of what is in the version that was passed by the House. A middle course suggests that you're eroding what you originally put forward.
No, but it gets you the same thing, even though the language...
Well, it doesn't.
It gets you this, and this is how it works, Charles. It's not theoretical. It's not theoretical. You see, since 2023, INEC itself, even without legislative backing, what we try to do now is to provide some kind of framework for legislative, to surround, to safeguard and protect the concept of IREV. That's what we try to do.
Yes.
But in practice, since 2023, INEC, by its regulations, compels presiding officers and electoral officials to, after the poll has been closed and results entered, take a picture of that result and send it to the IREV.
Yeah,
They've been doing it in all elections.
INEC let us down in 2023, certainly in the presidential section of that interview. They let Nigerians down. And would it be fair to say that the Senate essentially today avoided the one safeguard that Nigerians trust the most, which is electronic transmission of results in real time?
Now, that's what is bringing the confusion.
Yes.
What is the meaning of real time? We are not voting electronically in Nigeria. You get that point? We are not at the point where we go to the polling stations and vote electronically. I will support it any day, but the reality is that that's not what we are doing. Therefore, the notion of, and the fixation with real time, you are being fixated about something that you are not yet doing.
Yeah, but real
time... The country is not operating real-time electronic voting.
Yeah, but real time simply means as close to the time as... In other words, it mandates the person who's in charge there to make sure that as soon as it is entered, it is sent
and
through.
That's exactly what we are provided for.
Yeah, but you haven't added the real time there. That's what concerns people.
Look.
So that means that you could take it, you know, have a cup of tea, have a sandwich, and then send it up.
Charles, I think we shouldn't underplay what the Senate has done. I'm not spokesman for the Senate.
Right.
And I'm one of those at the forefront of fighting to deepen our democracy.
Indeed, but you've just
yes.
admitted
yes.
that what you agreed
yes.
on the committee level
yes.
has actually been rolled back.
No, the committee report had real time.
Yeah, but it's no longer there.
No, but real time on its own doesn't give you a transparent election. The word real time in this context is actually superfluous.
So why did you put it there in the first place?
It shouldn't have, because we are not doing electronic voting. Okay? The system we are operating, Charles, is that Nigerians are not voting electronically. Okay? You vote electronically when you go, you press, you vote, and then your vote, that singular vote, adds up in a portal. That is electronic voting. So in that context, you can talk of real-time monitoring, real-time, meaning that as the votes are coming in, you are seeing it. That is real-time monitoring of votes.
Yeah, but I still don't understand why you put real time there.
Wait, I'm
right,
coming.
okay.
It's never too late to correct something. Okay? It's never too late to correct something. And in lawmaking, like I said, however strongly you feel about a position, which you are entitled to take as legislators, parliamentarians world over, you engage, you make discussions, you convince and lobby one another, and you take what is practicable for that time.
Yeah,
that serves the purpose.
But the House,
next time you can come, next time you can come and take it from there. Yeah, so you make gains incrementally.
Okay, let me ask you this, because time is ebbing away.
Yeah.
Who decides when a network failure, which is what has been put into that clause now, who decides when a network failure exists or occurs? Is it INEX? Is it presiding officers? Who does that?
Can I tell you this? I don't agree with the provision, the proviso that has been included. I don't agree with it.
But you accept it?
No, because you see, Parliament works on the basis of majority.
No, I understand what you mean.
Yeah, so we don't have the numbers in the opposition to insist on the original that majority of some of the members were strongly against.
So even if Senator Abaribe had been able to force through the vote, you still would have lost it.
No, what Senator Abaribe was trying to do was to call for a division, which by our rules, any senator is entitled to raise. I told you that even in the 9th Senate, we had to force a vote where every member stands up to say where you are voting for, whether you are in support of electronic transmission or not. That was what Senator Abaribe was doing. The result was not going to give you real-time electronic transmission as we are talking about. But by the way, what I was trying to explain is this. When you vote, the way it is now, after voting, the presiding officer enters the result, the witnesses, the agents will sign, and he gives copies to security and to everybody. Thereafter, INEC has a system by which the presiding officer and every presiding officer in the country sends a copy of that polling result to the IREV. That is good enough for us. That's what we wanted to achieve. And by today's decision of the Senate, we have achieved it. Now, if I were a member of the conference committee, I would vote to adopt the House version. And I call on all members of the conference committee, the conferees, which I'm not one, to adopt the one that all of us in the joint committee had adopted, which the House passed, because it is easier, okay? It is far easier. Now, what the Senate did as a compromise, the opposition, all of us, and when they brought the majority, brought the motion for rescission, that is to review their earlier decision, which created this uproar. Of course, we can't be opposed to it. And then when they read the terms of the rescission, it meant a return. It meant that there will be mandatory electronic transfer, which was what we wanted. But they insisted on a proviso to say that in the areas where there's network failure. Now, where there's network failure, then the primary EC8A, which we have been using, should be evidence of the result. No problem. I mean, if what you have, you don't have the majority and the numbers to get what you want, then I strongly feel that that's good enough to work with. But like I said, if I were a member of the Senate on the joint committee, the conference committee, I would vote to adopt the House version. And that is possible too.
Tell us how,
that is possible
you've been in the Senate for a while. You're one of the most experienced politicians in this country. How does it work with the conference committee? How do they arrive at a consensus? Because their job is to harmonize it. When there's a difference in what the Senate passed and what the House passed, how does that harmonization take place?
That conference committee is imperative in a bicameral legislation. Where you need unanimity in terms of words, concepts, and everything about a bill before it is passed as a product of the National Assembly and transmitted not electronically, this one, transmitted
like
to the
that.
president for his signature, for his assent. Okay? So the duty of the conference committee is not to pick and choose, no. Their duty is straightforward, to either adopt the House version or the Senate version.
Right. So they
vote on it.
They don't alter things.
No, they don't alter.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying,
right,
that if I were a member of the conference committee, if I were a conferee, I would adopt the House version. Right. Because that reflects what we all did
but their
with
adoption,
INEC and all of us.
Their adoption is based on voting, is it?
Yeah, they vote. They vote on it.
Right. And
Simple
there's 12 each.
12 each.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And
so how do you break the tie if there is a tie?
Well, if there is we hope they will resolve it.
Right.
They are very experienced people. They will know how to resolve it. And the issues are quite straightforward. You see, I'm concerned not only about this. There's also the issue of compelling all political parties to adopt direct voting, which in my view is impractical and undemocratic. Political parties are at liberty to determine wider of three systems to adopt. Consensus. And in the 9th Assembly, which I worked on seriously on that bill, we defined what constitutes consensus to ensure that it's a product of free will and it's voluntary, not enforced. Then, if it is not consensus, they will determine whether it is direct voting or it is indirect. Last time, there was a mistake or a mischievous error introduced in the legislative process between the Office of the Attorney General, the Clerk of the National Assembly, and the President. A primary clause dealing with superdelegates was removed. So all of us, party leaders, were helpless. And it brought a major crisis. We corrected it. We did a lot of work to correct it. Now, the Senate version, and I disagree completely with it, that is not about transmission that everybody is talking about. There are other issues. The Senate version deals with only direct voting. Direct voting is a concept introduced by the APC. That is their system, and so be it if it works for them. But they have no right to enforce it on every other party, particularly the smaller parties.
But you can see why that is of less concern to the Nigerian public than this, which concerns the voting power of the people.
It's important.
Right. That's why this bit is of less. I mean, that issue of network failure rankles many Nigerians, and I'm sure you know that because you appear to be on the side of the people here. They see it as one of the most abused phrases in Nigerian elections, and that stems from 2023. And so you can see how they've all got very wary again, that there appears to be an attempt to enshrine that same phrase into law
Charles,
again.
When we make laws, we prescribe the general rule and not the exception. As I said, I will support the House version. I will stick with what the Joint Committee, which I was part of, seriously, at a point even shared in Lagos, prescribed, which does not have that proviso dealing with the exception. You know why it is not important? Number one, that proviso introduced by that does not add to the law. Because the law except in the country is that the EC8A is the primary evidence of election. So this proviso does not change it. You are not making new law, nor are you whittling down any law.
Yeah, but it makes it mandatory for them to immediately, that the thing is recorded, transmit it.
No, that's what the law says. The general rule is that every presiding officer shall, it's mandatory. That's what we have passed today. That's why I count it. I don't count the proceedings of today and the outcome as a loss for democracy. No, it is not.
So if in 2027 elections take place and there are issues of confusion around this question of network failure and electronic transmission and all the rest of it, and it goes to court again, and it becomes mired in legalese where there is a question of, well, was this clear or wasn't it clear? Who should Nigerians hold responsible if that happens? INEC or the National Assembly?
No. Clearly, it's the duty of INEC. You know why this is not we shouldn't make a mountain out of a molehill. I know that the issue of electoral integrity and transparency are important. We are concerned, and some of us are at the forefront of that. But you see, ultimately, even without this, the duty of INEC is to issue its own guidelines and regulations by which it will instruct all its officials, presiding officers, collation officers, on what is acceptable. And even as we speak now, without the amendment, without the benefit of this provision, the INEC guidelines are very clear. When you conduct an election, every presiding officer, when you finish, transmit it electronically to the IRF. Yeah, they are doing it. They are doing it now.
But the guidelines became a problem in 2023 when they went to court.
Because there was an attempt to treat the IRF report as a primary source of election result, which it is not. And the Supreme Court, in my view, stated the law correctly by saying, well, gentlemen, we can't reinvent the wheel. We have since decided in this country that the primary source of election, proving an election, is the EC8A. Show us the EC8A. Legitimate question, good law. The IRF was not intended to be a process of proving that you have won or lost an election. Do you understand? So now, even now, there's nothing has gone wrong. We have actually now even safeguarded and supported the IRF concept with what we have passed now, whichever version that is adopted.
Okay.
Because now by law, the presiding officer, beyond going by INEC guidelines and guidelines and so on, now has a legal duty. And let me tell you why it is important is that no matter how many thugs you have and how much security people you have at your disposal, no politician has the capacity, no party has the capacity to deploy violence or inducement or like that simultaneously across hundreds of thousands and millions of polling stations on one day. So once you safeguard the outcome, the integrity of what happens at the polling station by saying, well, after the votes have been counted, agents are there, and the result given, transmit it. Don't wait for collation at the ward collation. Because very often, Charles, for those of us who operate it, we all know where the damage is caused, where the robbery, electoral robbery, is hashed and perfected, is at the collation centers, not at the polling station. Because the polling stations are too many for any one party also to overcome and subdue. So I think that we should make progress incrementally. And as a legislator, as a parliament, that's one of the things you learn. Not always having your way and never saying that it's either your way or the highway. You compare notes with people, you lobby, they support like they did when they told me, look, Senator Dickson, look, we will do this.
I've got to go.
And I said, yes, we can take out the real time because there's no real time. It doesn't add to it. But let's make the electronic transfer mandatory. And we have done that. Well, so I think we are making progress.
You've attempted to explain that to us, and I hope the Nigerian people, I mean, they'll make up their minds about how they feel about it. But just before we go, I like your walking stick.
Thank you very much. Maybe I should give you one.
Is that a shark?
Oh, this is a shark. That's what they call me, the great white shark.
That's a bit scary, isn't
it? Great white shark from the ocean.
You gobble up your enemies, do you?
I don't.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Really good to see you again. Senator Henry Seriake Dickson is a leading opposition PDP member of the National Assembly. He governed Bayelsa State for 8 years and is also a member of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters and thus a key voice in this debate. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Charles, for having me.